definitely fewer marks to buff out of this batch, isn't there? Definitely getting better at that. That's good. Wait a second. Is there a warp in there? That's not straight, is it? No. It's a bit of a warp in there. I mean, not very much, but to have an arrow go awry, you don't need much of a warp, do you? There's another one I'm gonna need to reheat and try to cut that warp out of there. Makes the metal more brittle the more that you got to quench it. Take on an apprentice, Tara. It'll take away so much of your work, Tara. You'll love it, Tara. Yeah, except when I have to redo everything it does. Well, I mean, at least the technique with the construction of the shaft is getting better. I can see that. Is this one straight? Definitely better. Okay. Alright. Yeah. The arrowhead's looking nice too. Got a good design on it. Yeah. I mean, not sharp yet, obviously, but at least that's it's getting better. I'll have to tell him that. But it still needs some good buffing out, doesn't it? Was that really straight? Are we sure? Let's see. Oh, hello there. I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you come in. You must have some very light feet on you, don't you? Sorry, I didn't mean to point an arrow right at your face. Not that it's not sharpened yet. That's the last thing we do. So, I mean, I suppose I could still do some damage with it, but it's not a deadly weapon yet or anything. I was just going over the work of my apprentice. You see, I took on this new apprentice, and he is very eager to learn, and also eager to get his work finished. And sometimes he rushes things a bit. Yeah. You see, there are a few things that you need to make a good arrow, one that'll fly straight and true every time. And the first thing is making sure that it is perfectly straight. There's a reason that the phrase straight as an arrow exists, right? It's got to be straight. Any sort of warp in the shaft and it'll go one way or another. You'll never hit your target. And then it's also got to be lightweight. So most people, when they make arrows, they use some sort of a wood for the shaft, this pole part of the arrow. But down here in Knapwin, wood is a bit hard to come by. Yeah, you know, we haven't exactly got a lot of trees underground here. So, over the centuries, I've developed a way to make shafts out of metal. You hammer a sheet of metal very, very, very thin, and then while it's still hot, you can sort of roll it around a rod, and then you cut it and you weld it together and all that sort of thing. It's quite a long process, but it makes for a very lightweight and incredibly sturdy shaft for your arrow. Yeah. Of course, if you're learning how to make it and you go a bit fast, then you can definitely end up with some warps in your shaft, and that's just not gonna do. I think this one's alright. Yeah, that one definitely needs some work there. What can you do? Young people, am I right? Always in a rush for something or another. That one looks okay. Yeah, I think you're good. Don't see any warping in this one. That's good. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to just go off on my own problems there for you. What can I do for you? Welcome to the Fletcher shop of Knapwin. I can say that because it's the only Fletcher shop in Knapwin. I got arrows. That's mostly what we make, obviously, being a Fletcher shop. But I've also got some bows, and I got some targets and, you know, bracers, things like that. You know, pulling back an arrow all day, it takes its toll on your wrist if you don't have bracers. So I've got pretty much whatever you could need for archery. Whatever it is that you're looking for. Whether it's to hunt, whether it's to fight, whether it's just for sport. Whatever the case, I probably got it. So, what brings you in today? Well, yeah, I can see that you're a human. Obviously, you're quite tall if you're supposed to be a dwarf. Oh, I can see that. Yeah, you know, I've actually heard of you. The human in Knapwin these days. You have made quite a stir, haven't you? It seems like that's all people are talking about in the tavern after work. And, you know, the other day there was this other dwarf that came in asking about you. Asking if I had met you yet, if you'd come in to speak to me. Yeah, she seemed very, very interested on what you're doing in a town like this. Yeah. A bit strange. I actually, I didn't recognise her. I thought I knew pretty much everyone in town. It's not a town where we get, you know, people coming and going all that often. I mean, obviously there's some traders and people like that. Especially other dwarves from Bracken Gulch, perhaps. So, you know, I mean, she might have been from Bracken Gulch, but normally those traders are here for a very specific purpose. And they're the same traders every time, so we, for the most part, can recognise them. A bit strange, really. Well, anyway, I'm sure that you have gotten some... well, a variety of responses, of welcomes from people in this town, eh? There are some who are none too friendly when it comes to dealing with humans. But then I'm sure there were some who were maybe a bit more curious, perhaps. Me, I don't judge. I don't mind. Obviously, if you're here, you got in past the guards and everything. You've got your reason for being here. Really none of my business. But, you know, business is business. If you'd like anything from my shop, I'd be more than happy to help you. Oh, my merkins, did you see those? Well, you see, I got the dwarven tattoos, you know. Have you heard about those? They're, you know, they sort of denote some sort of mastery. Or, you know, important sort of life events, things like that. But I've also got, you're right, those very faint blue markings. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I am half elf. What gave it away? Was it the markings, or perhaps the fact that my store is probably one of the only places in Knapwin that was built with people who are more than 4 feet tall in mind. See, I'm a bit tall for a dwarf, seeing as I'm not entirely a dwarf. That's why I don't judge. It's a bit unusual being a half dwarf. It doesn't happen very often. And nowadays, especially unusual for half dwarf and a half elf to be around. So, still get plenty of stares. You know, some races you might try to hide if you were half and half, or something sort of peculiar, I suppose. But we dwarves, we're an honest bunch. Even if the truth is perhaps not entirely pleasant, it's usually best to stick to the truth anyway, or else something more unpleasant might come out. You never know. It's not really in our nature to be quiet or secretive about something. So I wear them with pride. I don't mind the questions and I don't mind the stares. It's part of who I am. Even though I never actually met my father, but you know, that's a story for another day. I guess it's a story for now, isn't it? Alright, well, I hope you don't mind if I keep working while we're chatting, do you? Okay, much obliged. Got quite a lot to do to catch up on some work now and rework some things, unfortunately. Anyway, my mother, she met this elf about, I don't know, 300 years ago, something like that. And they started out sort of, you know, just as friends, sort of sharing information about their cultures and things like that. And then they became more than friends. Yeah, and I actually don't know the whole story, but apparently they were inseparable for quite a while. But then something went wrong with the place that my father was from. He had to leave for a little while. And then he came back and he was very different. Yeah, well, according to my mother. Obviously, I don't remember that part. But he had to leave for good after that. So there was something important that he had to do, that he had to take care of. So, and he's never come back. Might still be out there somewhere, seeing as elves live basically forever, right? No, I know they don't live forever, but they live for quite a long time compared to most of the other races anyway. Anyway, so that's my little story. What can I do for you today? You're here about something having to do with my mother, eh? It's been a long time since anyone's inquired about her. She's been dead, almost 2 centuries now. Oh, well, thank you. It's, I mean, it was hard at first, having her not here, but it's the way of things, isn't it? She lived a nice, full life for a dwarf, and now she's in the eternal hunt in the sky. I'm sure she's loving it. Anyway, how'd you hear about my dear old mum? Because as far as I'm aware, you humans, you don't have the longest lifespan, so how did you know about a dwarf that died 200 years ago? You're looking for something of hers. Oh. Interesting. Well, I hope it wasn't any of her recipes. See, she was actually quite a horrible cook. I learned how to cook rather early in life. And it's a good thing too, because I think I would have gone hungry otherwise. An hourglass. An hourglass, that's like a timepiece. That's an interesting thing to be inquiring about. What's so important about this hourglass? I mean, I'm sure you could, I could direct you to some other stores in town in Knapwin. I'm sure they've got hourglasses. Do humans not have hourglasses anymore? Are you... Yeah, it's not your average hourglass that you're asking about, is it? I guess it's no use pretending. My mother told me this day might come someday when someone would come inquiring. Well, I'm sorry you wasted the trip. It's got nothing to do with you being a human, but I'm not gonna give you my mother's hourglass. So sorry you wasted all this time, but you can go ahead and go now. Yeah, nice to meet you, I suppose. You're not going yet. No, I'm not giving you the hourglass. Why on earth would I... Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Put this away for a moment. Alright. This hourglass that you're speaking of, you and I both know, don't we, that it's very, very important. This hourglass. No, I don't know exactly why it's important, I suppose. You see, when my father came back, after he'd been gone for a bit, he had this hourglass and he asked my mother to hide it, to protect it with her life. That's how important it was. He said that there was this horrible thing that happened, and some sort of energy had to be sealed away or something, and that hourglass was part of what sealed away that awful energy. Yeah, and it could be very dangerous if it fell into the wrong hands. And he also told my mother that there might be people who came inquiring about the hourglass. And he told her to tell them to stuff it. So, now I'm telling you, you can stuff it. I'm not giving you the hourglass. No, no, no. Yes, I realise that it's important, but why is it important to you? Why? Why on earth would I just hand over this incredibly powerful, important thing to a complete stranger that, honestly, I know nothing about? You're just this random human who shows up in Knapwin, asking questions about my parents, and now asking me to hand over this incredibly powerful thing. You were sent here by who? Penham. Penham. That name rings a bell. Sort of. Who is Penham? I see. Friend of my father's. Wait, Penham, that was the elf who did the ritual magic, right? Whatever it was that made this hourglass important and powerful and dangerous. She's the one that did it. Didn't she die? Oh, her ghost is the one that's talking to you, sending you about all over the kingdom looking for these relics. Yes, I'm sure. Likely story. So an old elf ghost who lived 300 years ago is sending you off on this magical quest. You realise how that sounds, right? Okay. Well, I'm sure that that's what's going on. You know, anyone could say anything. As if you know about the hourglass and you know about Penham, then you could come here and say whatever you wanted. How am I to know that you're not the problem? Eh? That you're not the dangerous person that I'm not supposed to give it to? Maybe you're just making up stories. What? Oh, what's this then? Look at this. Definitely got some surprises up your sleeve, haven't you? You've got the crest of a chieftain. Interesting. Well, I guess I no longer have to ask how you got past the guard. Got into Knapwin, eh? Interesting. This is quite a powerful little token, isn't it? Meaning that you've got the favour of a chieftain. Every dwarf is supposed to just bend over backwards to give you whatever it is that you would like, eh? Well, I didn't realise that I was speaking to someone who was so important. Well, I mean, if there's anything in the store that I could get for you, I'll be sure to give you a fabulous deal on it. But this doesn't mean that I'll be giving you the hourglass. No, that hourglass has nothing to do with the chieftains. I don't care if you get a crest from every chieftain in Knapwin. I'm not giving you the hourglass just because you ask for it. What's that? This was Penham's. A ring from Penham, eh? Well, it's definitely magical, isn't it? I can feel it. It's charged with something, that's for sure. It's a different type of energy than what was around the hourglass. What was around the hourglass always felt sort of, honestly, a bit foreboding to me. If I'm being honest, it felt like it could be dangerous. But this doesn't feel like it. This feels much more welcoming, maybe? I don't think that's exactly the term I'm looking for, but not that it's not still powerful, but it feels less threatening, I guess. This belonged to Penham. Well, I suppose it's a bit more convincing, isn't it? Why do you need the hourglass? You're gonna have to tell me. I'm not giving it to you. I'm not going to if you don't tell me. You want to destroy that energy. The negative energy that Penham sealed off. But it's sealed off, isn't it? So there is someone else looking for these relics, trying to tap into that dangerous energy, whatever that was. I mean, I don't ever pretend to know everything about what happened. You know, my father was a bit cryptic when he told my mother, and my mother was even more cryptic when she told me. All I knew was it was my legacy to protect this hourglass. I mean, you can understand why I'm hesitant to give it to you, right? Well, thank you. I'm not trying to be all super brave and everything. I'm just trying to do what's right. You really want to destroy it? You know, I'm usually pretty good about reading people. You don't seem like the type of person who would try to hurt other people. Especially not like in the way that apparently that energy could do. Well, here's the thing. Even if I wanted to give you the hourglass, I can't give it to you. No, I don't actually have it here. See, I hid it. It's actually quite well hidden, if I do say so myself. In fact, it's hidden, and it's a long time ago, about a century ago or so. I actually went looking for my father for a bit, just to see if he was still out there. You know, I mean, he's an elf, so he could very well still be alive. And I never found him, but I did find some other elves. And anyway, I got this sort of enchantment from them that it protected the hourglass, that whoever wanted it for malicious purposes wouldn't be able to find it. So I guess it wouldn't do me much harm to tell you where it is, because if you're going to use it to hurt people, then you'll never be able to find it anyway. But if what you're looking for is really to help people, then I guess you'll find it, won't you? Alright. Fine. I'll tell you. I guess you can't get it if you're gonna do harm with it, so I guess in that way it's not all that dangerous, is it? Well, in a manner of speaking. I hid it somewhere where I knew that someone wouldn't just sort of happen upon it. You know, a dwarf just digging in a mine or walking down the street and they find something. I wanted it to be somewhere where dwarves don't go anymore. Somewhere that it would lie undisturbed until I, you know, someday have bairns of my own and can tell them about it. For them to keep it safe too. So I buried it in the old Knapwin ruins. You see, centuries ago, before the whole civil war and all that between the different races in Maladia, Knapwin used to be a city that part of it was on the surface and part of it was down below the surface. And the part below the surface was actually somewhat small. You know, it was mostly the mine, and then there was, you know, a big forge with, you know, several different fires and anvils and things like that. And then there were a few other buildings around for trading or for different supplies and things like that you might need when you're mining or smithing or whatever the case might be. But after the plans were made to move all of Knapwin down below, the part of the city that had originally been here, it wasn't going to be big enough. Definitely not if you have all these different dwarves who were all going to be mining and smithing. They'd be on top of each other all the time. And that's not a good working environment, especially when you're talking about dwarves. So that part of the city was actually just sort of abandoned. Yeah, and in the last, you know, 150 years or so, there have been a few smaller cave-ins and some other just sort of hazardous things that have happened around there. So people don't go there, like, ever. In fact, there's this one old dwarf who likes to sort of wander around there now and then. At least he used to. But he said that there's some sort of a creature that lives there now. He's very, very dangerous. Who knows if that's actually true? I don't know. And then, of course, there are other people who say that it's haunted. I don't know. Ghost stories to scare the bairns, most likely. But anyway, it is definitely abandoned. So that's where I hid the hourglass. Yeah, it's buried. Actually, in the that giant forge. Yeah, with all the different fires and the kilns and the anvils, and there's still some, you know, broken furniture and things like that people didn't think were worth taking out of there. Yeah, that's where it is. So if you're gonna go looking for it, that's where you gotta go. Do you know where the old ruins are? Okay, well, they're sort of south and east. Yeah, east of the city. No, west. West. Sorry, it's been so long since I had it there. If you just sort of go south in the city, you'll see this sort of abandoned road. I mean, it's well worn because, you know, people used to go there all the time, but nowadays it's completely abandoned. And if you follow that, you'll get to this big archway. That's the river that goes through Knapwin. It sort of curves, and so the river is also near the ruins. But there's this big archway that you'll go through, and then you'll get to sort of the commerce area of the old ruins. And then if you were to keep going down that path, you get to the mines and keep going, you know, south from there, then you get to sort of some sort of residential areas that have all, of course, since been abandoned. But all you need to do is find that big forge building. Yeah, that'll do it. And it's buried sort of in the center. Yeah, near one of the anvils. No, I don't have a map. Who makes a map of a place that they're not going? There's no maps of the old ruins. I mean, maybe, you know, if you talk to maybe the librarian or something, she might have a very, very old map of Knapwin that was. But personally, I think that'd be a waste of time. It won't be that hard to find. If you just get to the ruins, it's the biggest building there. Well, it's sort of dilapidated now, but that's still there. So, yeah, you go poking around by those anvils. And as long as your intentions are as pure as you seem to think that they are, then you'll find it right away. The creature that lives there? Like I said, most likely a ghost story to scare the bairns. You see, sometimes, usually dwarves are very, we like to stay close to home. But every once in a while you get a dwarf that's got that bug of adventure. And so sometimes there were younger dwarves who would try to adventure into the old ruins to see what was there. But because that area of the cave has not been kept up, it can be rather dangerous just for natural reasons, for, you know, like I said, cave-ins and the like. So I would say that those stories are most likely just to deter anyone who was curious from going poking around where it could be dangerous, you know. But no, I don't think there's anything there. I'm sure that you've got nothing to worry about. Anyway, so that's all I got for you, I guess. If you're so determined to get this hourglass and go through this quest that a 300-year-old ghost is sending you on, I guess best of luck to you. I don't know, what do you say to a person after something like that? Best of luck to you, I guess. I hope you find the hourglass, because if you do, then that means that you weren't lying to me and you really do have good intentions with that. Yeah. Anyway, you'd best get going, especially if you're gonna, you know, do it before the crystals start to go out. I definitely would not go to the ruins after dark, because like I said, there are some definitely, you know, natural things that are dangerous, and there's probably broken things around there. I wouldn't want you getting hurt. So if you're trying to get there before, you know, the crystals fade and they start simulating night, then you best shove off, eh? Okay, well, it's been interesting speaking to you, that's for sure. Best of luck to you.